It's a really bad smell.
One of the officers vomited. That's how bad the smell was.
Officers swarmed 31st and Wharton Streets in Gray's Ferry around 10 o'clock Wednesday morning, finding this gray plastic container where a woman's body was found stuffed inside.
And I wish somebody would just come over and cook for me because I've been cooking all week. I don't want to cook. I'm hungry. I had a hangry headache.
35-year-old Nissa Walcott was a beautiful person filled with lots of life. She was a wonderful mother to her son and would do anything for him. He was her world. She was an entrepreneur and beautician at the Live on Lexington barbershop and was described by friends as a hard worker. Nissa had a great relationship with her family, so when they were unable to reach her, they knew something was wrong. She was last seen on February 16th, and her brother, who resides in Atlanta, reported her missing 1 week later. The following day, her aunt also took to Facebook to post about her disappearance. On Friday, February 24th, a man who frequents a site across from 950 University Avenue along the Deegan Expressway, just blocks from the Yankee Stadium, was looking to find and resell items dumped there by people using the self-storage facility. He noticed a dresser that had been abandoned there around 11 a.m. and came back in the afternoon to retrieve it. A foul odor drew his attention, and after taking a look, stumbled upon a gruesome discovery coming from a plastic container that hadn't been there earlier.
A woman's body found inside of a container late tonight. Officials confirming the victim, 35-year-old Nissa Walcott, may have been dead for days. But now police are trying to figure out how she died and how she ended up in that container. Eyewitness News reporter Naveen Dhaliwal has the story.
This quiet street in Melrose turned into what looked like an episode of a crime show as detectives pieced together their investigation after a decomposing body was found in a storage bin.
That's shocking. This is my block.
The container was sitting next to a dresser on the curb across a storage facility. The piece of furniture, neighbors say, had been sitting there for days.
I was looking at that dresser because, the storage place, they bring all their garbage over there.
Investigators say a man took notice of that dresser on University Avenue around 11 this morning. When he came back to pick it up 3 hours later, he noticed a clear plastic bin next to it that wasn't there earlier. Even more startling, a human foot was protruding from the container along with a foul odor.
It's absurd to me.
Neighbor Stephanie Nunez's stepfather had just parked his car next to that dresser moments before the discovery.
He got out the car, didn't notice anything, and not even a minute passed, and that's when the cops came. That's when we found out a couple minutes after that it was a body.
When neighbors learned the body was of a woman,
It was a woman.
Concerns sank in quickly.
It was a woman found decomposed. I am a woman, a single black woman at that. I have children. This is crazy.
The body would eventually be identified as that of 35-year-old Nissa Walcott. NYPD crime scene investigators scrambled to collect evidence to determine who would commit such a horrific crime. It was unclear just how long her body went undetected. However, police were positive it was in the decomposition process. The bin did not appear to be connected to the storage facility. According to neighbors, it is commonplace for furniture and trash to line that sidewalk, but after Friday, they want the dumping to stop. Initially, police had no suspects. However, there will be a disturbing twist in this gruesome case. Police made a shocking announcement that a family member was being questioned for her murder.
Her cousin is now being questioned after they say he was seen on camera in the area lugging around a large, heavy plastic container. Chilling new details tonight as law enforcement sources reveal to News 4 Nissa Walcott's cousin is now being questioned in her gruesome death. Her decomposing body found 1 day earlier in a plastic bin on a Bronx sidewalk. Senior law enforcement sources tell News 4 they've seen surveillance video from the East Harlem building where Walcott lived that shows her entering the building and never coming back out. They say it also shows a man identified as Walcott's cousin carrying a large, heavy plastic container up to the the roof, and then later returning sometime after midnight Friday, this time with another man, who sources say is shown helping him take the bin down to the street where it's believed the two loaded it into a car. And sources say more surveillance video from nearby the crime scene in the Bronx shows the two men removing the container and pushing the bin to where it was eventually discovered Friday afternoon. Sources go on to say Walcott's cousin also sent text messages to her family members to throw them off.
We were trying to find her, and we didn't want to find her like this.
The 35-year-old social worker disappeared last week. Friends and family had posted about it on social media, hoping for a better outcome. Loved ones now mourning her death and trying to process why this happened.
She was a beautiful person. She was a hard worker. She was a single mother. She worked hard for everything. She was an entrepreneur, and she didn't deserve this.
On Saturday, police charged 21-year-old Khalid Barrow for the murder of his cousin, Nissa Walcott. He is accused of murder and concealment of a human corpse. Barrow was found in possession of financial documents that belonged to the victim. It would later be revealed that Nissa offered the suspect help by allowing him to stay with her and her son. Her family was visibly upset and in shock and described the incident as something you would see on a milk carton or an episode of Law & Order, far from reality.
Arrest in the murder of a woman who was found in a plastic container on the street. Right before we went on the air tonight, 21-year-old Khalid Barrow was walked out of the 23rd precinct in East Harlem. He's now facing murder and concealment of a corpse charges. Officers identified the victim as 35-year-old Nissa Walcott. Yesterday, someone noticed that her foot was sticking out of a container that was placed on a street.
According to court documents, Nissa last saw her son when she woke him up for school. Her son received text messages from his mom's phone saying that she was going away to take care of business, but that Khalid, the 21-year-old cousin, would remain at the home to take care of him. When her son got home from school, he found the cousin cleaning the floor. He said the apartment smelled like bleach. The office of the chief medical examiner said her body was in a high state of decomposition. Nissa's hyoid, a bone in the neck, had been fractured. Khalid Barrow was arraigned and remanded on Sunday for the murder of his cousin. A vigil was held in front of her apartment building to honor her memory and remember the woman who many described as having no enemies, an all-around beautiful soul.
I'm feeling very numb and empty right now.
Eugene Butler is struggling to find the words to describe his emotions. He spoke exclusively to CBS 2 News after the death of his 35-year-old sister, Nissa Walcott.
Nissa was a beautiful person. She was a caring, loving woman that really loved her family.
Her brothers reported the young mother missing after repeated attempts to call her were returned with what they deemed suspicious text messages.
The language that was being used was like, wait a minute, that's not my sister.
Saturday, grief-stricken members of the community lit candles outside her home in East Harlem. Walcott's father and other brother were too distraught to speak on camera. Her longtime friends say they are horrified by the violence.
Good person, free-spirited, kind, loving, entrepreneurial. She was a good woman. She did not deserve to be discarded like trash on the street.
Walcott's family and friends say her main priority was her 14-year-old son. They say the two were extremely close. He's now with his father, trying to process what happened.
She really took care of her son. She was a hard worker. And her last job was working with ACS, so, you know, she was involved with wanting to help people. She was an entrepreneur. She was a beautiful spirit, strong woman.
Walcott's cousin, 21-year-old Khalid Barrow, has now been arrested and is charged with murder and concealment of a human corpse in connection to the death. Her brother is grateful for the quick arrest.
This is barbaric, very gutless. The person who did this had to have been a person with no soul, because all she wanted to do was help this person.
The family's priority now is that there is justice for their loved one.